Hello my friends, Dowellzrul here, and welcome back to another deck profile. And today we have the Xyz dimension, the Raidraptors. So after having the Fluffles for the Fusion dimension and the Flower Guardians for the Synchro dimension, we are continuing on with our multi-dimensional decks, and we have the Xyz today. So the Raidraptors, just to give you guys a quick rundown of the deck, for those of you who don't know what it does, the Raidraptors they basically use their main deck to get to the extra deck. It's just a basic rank 4 deck. They're trying to get 4 Strix out as fast as possible, and then ranking him up into the bigger Xyz monsters. And essentially the deck is just Ultimate Falcon Turbo. And we'll get to him later, but if you know anything about Waking the Dragons, you know what Ultimate Falcon is. So, let's get right into this video with the main deck. Starting things off, we have our main starter, Raidraptor Vanishing Lanius. So, what Vanishing Lanius does is, if you use normal summoned or special summoned this turn, in your main phase you can just special summon another level 4 lower Raidraptor. Which is kind of weird, because I think the only level 5, they only have one guy that's over level 4, so I don't even know why they made the level 5 Raidraptor, but he's there. So, yeah, he's just your main starter for the deck. Then you got 3 Singing Lanius. So if you control Raidraptor, if you control any Xyz monster, you can special summon him, and you can only summon him Singing Lanius once per turn this way. So the reason you're running 3 of him, even though he's a hard once per turn, is just because he's the free body on board and gets you another Raidraptor. Pretty self-explanatory with that. We got Mimicry Lanius next. This is your main searcher for the deck. What he does is, when his on-field effect doesn't matter, but I'll let you know what it does anyway. Once per turn during your main phase, if he was normal or special summon this turn, you could just increase the level of all Raidraptors on the field by 1. Doesn't really mean anything, unless you want to go to the rank 5. But his grave effect is what we want. If it's sent to the grave this turn, you can go ahead and banish him and search any Raidraptor card, not just monster. So this is helpful when you want to search, like, your Raidraptor nest. So he also lets you search your Lastrix, while your Forstrix does not search Lastrix. So then we have 3 Raidraptor Fuzzy Lanius. So what Fuzzy Lanius does is, if you control a Raidraptor monster other than Fuzzy Lanius, then you can just special summon him from your hand for free. And then if he's sent to the grave, you could go ahead and add another copy of Fuzzy Lanius from your deck to your hand. So if you were to detach him off of an Xyz material, you can go ahead and search another one. The thing about him is, though, for the rest of the turn, during the entire turn, you activate either effect. You cannot special summon anything except for Raidraptors. So that means you cannot summon your Link monster at all. So just keep that in mind when you're running the deck. Next, we have 2 Raidraptor Lastrix. So, Lastrix, when a Raidraptor monster battles an opponent's monster, you can special summon him and gain 100 life points for every spell and trap card on the field, on your side of the field, and in your graveyard. So you get like 500 life points for summoning him, which isn't terrible. It's another way. It's basically a free way to get him out, and his second effect is really good, because what you can do with him is, when he's on the field, you can tribute him and special summon any Raidraptor Xyz monster from your action deck, negating its effects, and it can't attack. So what you usually do is you just summon out the Satellite Cannon, which is the rank 8, and then rank it up into the rank 10. But yeah, that's pretty good. The reason we're running 2 of him is he's searchable, and you don't want to see him all that often since he's level 1. And you need your rank up spell in order to work in tandem with him, so you can actually get the full value out of his effects. And then we have our 3 one-ofs. We have Booster Strix, Tribute Lanius, and Napalm Dragonius. Realistically, you could replace the Napalm with a Tribute Lanius, but what Napalm does is, once per turn, he can inflict 600 damage. He's just a random burn card in a rank 4 deck. That's really all he's here for. His second effect is, when he's destroyed by battle, you can special summon another copy of another Raidraptor monster from your deck. And then Booster Strix, he's a hand trap. When a Raidraptor monster battles, is targeted for an attack by an opponent's monster, you can banish this card from your hand and destroy the attacking monster. And then Tribute Lanius, during your main phase, if you use normal or special summon this turn, you can send a Raidraptor monster from your deck to your grave. And then during main phase 2, if it destroyed an opponent's monster by battle, you could add a quick play, rank up magic spell from your deck to your hand. And you can't special summon anything except Raidraptors for the rest of the turn. Now, the reason this is different from Fuzzy's effect, because Fuzzy doesn't let you summon anything except Raidraptors for the entire turn, while Tribute says for the rest of the turn if you search a quick play, rank up magic spell. So, summoning out this guy isn't a problem if you use Tribute Lanius' effect. Just watch the Fuzzy when you're summoning out Dermadol. Alrighty, for the spell cards, we now have 1 Doom Double Force. This is your quick play search target for your Tribute Lanius. And this one, it lets you target a Raidraptor Exceeds monster in your graveyard that was destroyed by battle this turn and sent there. Then you special summon it and then double its rank. So you can special summon the Force Strix out of your graveyard and go into the Satellite Cannon, or you can special summon the Revolution Falcon out of your grave and go into the Final Fortress Falcon. I wouldn't recommend the Final Fortress Falcon. I would rather... the Force Strix is the better target, because then you can rank up the Satellite Cannon into the Ultimate Falcon, but it's whatever's available at the moment, and that is an option. So next we have 3 Rank Up Magic Soul Shave Force. Now what this does is you pay half your life points, target a Raidraptor Exceeds in your grave, special summon it, and then rank it up to any Raidraptor that's 2 ranks higher. So this is just a rank up from the grave, and it's really useful since I'm using only the even rank Raidraptors, so that'll get me from like the 4 to the 6, or the 6 to the 8, or whatever. Next, we got 3 Rank Up Magic Skip Force. This is just, this one lets you take a Raidraptor on the field, and then rank it up 2 ranks higher, and then when it's in the graveyard, you can banish it and another Raidraptor from your grave, and then special summon a Raidraptor monster from your graveyard. So if you were to banish it and say Vanishing Lanius, you can special summon the Ultimate Falcon from the grave, or your Satellite Cannon, or whatever's in the grave at the time.
Are you kidding me?
Next we have 3 Rank Up Magic Astral's Force. This one makes you target the Exceeds monster with the highest rank, so watch out if you have a Ultimate Falcon on the board while you use this effect. But it ranks it up to 2 ranks higher, and you can't do that on Ultimate Falcon, so if you have Ultimate Falcon out, this is a dead card. And then, if it's in the graveyard, instead of drawing for your normal draw phase, you could add it back to your hand, but you can only summon with the effect of Astral's Force that turn. So, you're usually not using the add back effect, you're just using this as another Rank Up Magic spell, but... Now we have Swallow's Nest. This one, you tribute a Winged Beast monster, and special summon 1 Winged Beast from your action deck with the same... Well, from your main deck with the same level as the tributed monster. So this lets you trade out any of your level 4s for another one, and it also gets Mimicry in the graveyard. Next, we have 3 Cattle Call. This one lets you tribute one Beast, Winged Beast, or Beast Warrior type monster, and then special summon 1 monster from your action deck with the same original type. Is it just a type and attribute? With the same original type, but it cannot attack, and its effects are negated. Also, it's destroyed during the end phase. So this works well in getting a target for... Since it's a quick play spell, you can use it on your opponent's turn, and then it gives you a target for your Soul Shave Force. But what it also does is it gets you a free Satellite Cannon. So essentially, it turns any of your Raidraptors into a Raidraptor Lastrix. So that's pretty good. Next, we're running 2 Raidraptor Call. This one lets you target 1 Raidraptor you control, and then special summon a 1 monster with the same name from your hand or deck in defense mode, and you can only use this effective call once per turn. You cannot special summon monsters during the turn you activate this, except Raidraptor monsters. So again, same thing with Fuzzy. You cannot summon your Link monster unless if you use this effect. Which is reasonable, because if you were to use this, you can go into something like Utopia the Lightning off of just the Catacall and a Raidraptor. So, I figured they didn't want you to do that. Next, we have 1 Foolish Burial, 1 1-for-1, and then 1 Raidraptor Nest for the last 3 spell cards. The Foolish Burial is to send either Fuzzy Lanius or Mimicry Lanius to the graveyard. Either one will trigger, and then you can banish the Mimicry to search, or you can add another Fuzzy to hand. The 1-for-1 is in easy access to your Lastrix. So it's just a third copy of Lastrix along with the 3 Mimicry searches, and then you got your 3 Cattle Calls. So you basically have like 9 Lastrix in the deck. And then you have your Nest, which if you control 2 or more Raidraptors, you could add a Raidraptor monster from your deck to your hand. That is pretty useful because I read that wrong. You get added from your deck or graveyard to your hand. So you can add back your resources from your graveyard or search your deck. I actually always forget about the graveyard, being able to add back from the graveyard, and I usually just search my deck until I run out of cards in my deck, and then I'm like, wait a second, I could search out of the graveyard. So, definitely remember that you can search out of the graveyard too. And then for the 2 trap cards, we have 2 Icarus Attack. Since all of my guys are Winged Beast, this is a really good card, because what you do is you tribute a Winged Beast, target 2 cards on the field, and blow them up. So, yeah, this is a pretty good card. So, now for the extra deck, we have 3 Raidraptor Force Strix. It takes 2 level 4s, it's completely generic, which is really helpful. In, like, a Harpy Lady deck, well, I don't know if Harpy actually has any targets for it, but you could summon it in, like, a Harpy Lady deck, or you can, I guess you... Someone let me know if there's, like, a Raidraptor engine you can do with this. But, Force Strix, you detach an Xyz material, and then you can add any level 4 Dark Winged Beast from your deck to your hand, and he gains 500 attack defense for every Winged Beast you control, other than this card. So, Harpy Ladies will obviously get it pumped up, but we're not worried about that. We're worried about all the Winged Beasts we have in this Raidraptor deck. So, then we have 3 Raidraptor Revolution Falcon. Now, this is a great board clear, because what you could do is you could detach an Xyz material, and then this guy can attack all monsters your opponent controls. And if your opponent happens to have any special summon monsters, that monster's attacking events become 0, which is great. Also, if it has a Raidraptor as an Xyz material, a Raidraptor Xyz monster as an Xyz material, so if you were to rank it up off of the 4 strikes, which is usually what you're doing, you can go ahead and use the second effect. Is once per turn, you can target a monster your opponent controls, destroy it, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half the attack of the destroyed monster at on field. So if your opponent has a 5,000 attack point monster, which I don't know why they would, unless they're running like Malefic Truth Dragon or whatever, they can go ahead and blow it up and inflict 2,500 damage to your opponent, which is really good against certain decks. Also, since the special summoning is so prevalent in now Yu-Gi-Oh!, this is actually a really good card to battle a lot of decks, and it's a great anti-special summon deck. And next we have 3 Satellite Cannon. Now, Raidraptor Satellite Cannon Falcon, if it's Xyz summoned using a Raidraptor's Xyz material, so if you were to rank it up, then you could blow up all spell and traps on the field, which is really good. Your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation, which is also really good. So it's just a free Heavy Storm. Oh no, it's just your opponent controls. So it's a free Harpy's Feather Duster. It's a Harpy's Feather Duster on a 3k body that can't be chained to. Really good. Also, its second effect, it's a quick effect, and you can detach one Xyz material, target 1 face-up monster your opponent controls, and it loses attack for each 800 attack for each Raidraptor monster in your graveyard. So, realistically, if you have 0 Raidraptors in the graveyard, you can make a Blue Eyes White Dragon 2,200 attack. 800 attack points is massive. You can cut the Ultimate Conductor Tyranno down to size and bring him down to 2,700 attack points from his 3,500. Which is crazy, unless they decide to, like, miscellaneous swords you or something like that. Next, we have the win con of the deck, the Raidraptor Ultimate Falcon. Now, some of you probably know what this is because of the Waking the Dragon strap card, but what it is, it's unaffected by other card effects, and you can detach 1 Xyz material from this card, and for the rest of the turn, all monsters your opponent controls will lose 1,000 attack points. Also, your opponent's cards or effects cannot be activated. Yeah, that is crazy. So, basically, your opponent loses 1,000 attack points, all monsters your opponent controls lose 1,000 attack points, and, it skill drains your opponent for everything. Your opponent can't activate any card effects. And if it has a Raidraptors and an Xyz material, then you, once per turn during the end phase, you can make all monsters your opponent controls lose 1,000 attack. If your opponent has no face-up monsters, though, in order for you, so you can't decrease their attack points, that's fine. I'll just inflict 1,000 damage to you. So, it inflicts 1,000 burn during the end phase, or debuffs their opponent's monsters. This is really good because Ultimate Falcon can detach and debuff an Ultimate Conductor, and they can't chain the Ultimate Conductor, I'm pretty sure. Maybe? I think that's how that works. I hope that's how that works. Next, we just got that Final Fortress Falcon for the Doom Double Force off of the rank 6. If it has the Raidraptor as an Xyz material, it's unaffected by other card effects. Once per turn, you can detach one Xyz material from this card. Return all of your banished Raidraptor monsters to the graveyard up to twice per turn. When this attacking card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can banish one Raidraptor Xyz monster in your graveyard, and this card can attack once again in a row. 3,800 attack is pretty decent. As long as it has an Xyz material, it's unaffected by other card effects, which is why this guy is better, because he doesn't need an Xyz material to be unaffected. And that's it for him. Now we have your 2 Link monsters. I'm running 2 Firefighting Dermadol. So it just takes 2 Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast, and it gains 100 attack for each Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monster on the field. And once per turn, you can target a Spell Trap, and it's just a double Cyclone. You can target a Spell Trap on each side of the field, destroy them, and if it destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can target one of your Beast, Beast Warrior, or Winged Beast monsters in your banished or is in your graveyard, and then you could add to your hand. So, if you were to banish your Mimicry Lanius, you can add to your hand, which is pretty neat. Or you could add one of your Raidraptors back from your graveyard to your extra deck, which is pretty neat as well. You only need 2 of them. I mean, you could run 3 of him and take out the Final Fortress Falcon if you really wanted to. But I like the Final Fortress being there as insurance for the Revolution Falcon. If they were to beat over it, because it only has 2,000 attack points, and it may not be able to be destroyed in battle by a special summon monster, but your opponent can easily beat over it with, like, a Monarch. So, also, fun fact, Revolution Falcon has the highest defense points of any Winged Beast monster. Highest printed defense. So, just a fun fact there. So, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is my Raidraptor deck profile. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, all that YouTube stuff. And let me know any suggestions you would give about this deck. I'm really open to suggestions about this deck, because it's kind of been the same for quite a while. And I'm like, I can't think of any engines to splash in here to make it more interesting, like I did with the Crawler Tindangle deck. But I kind of want to make this deck interesting, because it's just kind of bland. It's just a bunch of little guys special summoning out a bunch of big guys, and then, I mean, that's what this deck does. But I don't know, maybe there's something you guys can think of that'll make this a little more interesting. So with that, I will see you guys next time. Peace.